Hey guys, I'm Torie, and you're listening to That Girl, the podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in because the new episode is starting now. Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl Torie, and I'm back with a whole new podcast episode. In today's podcast episode, we're going to be talking about how to step into your feminine energy. And I'm going to go ahead and put a disclaimer now. If you are not familiar with the difference between like feminine energy and masculine energy, it has nothing to do with gender. I'm not like gonna tell you that you need to like go wash dishes or anything that's traditionally a women's thing, whatever, for whatever. Obviously I'm not like for that. I am talking about your divine feminine, your divine masculine. It's completely genderless. Everyone has a feminine and a masculine energy, and it's just like a balancing act throughout your entire life. You are more dominant in one versus the other. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're not talking about like how to step into your feminine role or anything like that. So you can put your pitchforks down. We're good. Everything's fine. So yeah, obviously before I jump into that, I do want to do my life updates because I do it every time, right? Let's do that real quick and then we will hop on into the episode. So of course I started the episode without pulling up my notes again because I always do that, but I have them now. So yeah, I think that the most overarching, all-encompassing thing for my life updates is that I've just been really trying to be present and step into my feminine energy era, which is why I wanted to do this episode, because I've genuinely been like researching it and interested in it, and I feel like it can help people and not just me. I personally have more masculine energy, which I'll understand what that means in a second, or I'll explain what that means, not understand. So I wanted to help you guys kind of like understand it too and give you a better understanding of yourself and how to better combat those moments when you feel like you're giving off one or the other and how to balance it. So yeah, I've also still been doing lucky girl syndrome. I don't think that I've been saying my affirmations as much as I could, but I do want to let you go that let you know I can't talk. I still can't talk. My ADHD has been so bad. I was hanging out with my friend last night and she was like, Grace, your ADHD is a little rough, and I'm like, thank you, I know. But as I was saying, I still am doing that to kind of give you guys a little experiment and show you if it's like a thing and how different things are a month from now. I haven't been saying the affirmations as much as I should, but I have still been doing it. So we'll see. There hasn't been any huge thing that's happened where I've been like, wow, I'm so lucky. I mean, like, little things and just waking up every day and having a grateful heart is something I do practice, but there hasn't been anything like, oh, you've won a new car, or here's $100,000, or anything crazy to write home about. But we'll see. It's only the beginning. Also, I told you guys I would update you on the face wash I've been using. I stopped using it, the Miranda Care Cora one, because it totally stripped my face of like anything good and just gave me a ton of acne. So I stopped using it. I've been trying to like heal my face and then hopefully maybe start using it again later. I do want to give a shout out though to Different Gel. They just now, maybe like a year ago, put it on the shelves. Put it on the shelves because it used to have to be something you have to get with a prescription, and this is what got me through middle school, guys. Back when the last time I had acne, Different Gel gets rid of acne so well. You just put it on your problem areas and like we're at it again, like tried and true. So if you struggle, I definitely recommend that. Another fun thing is we are going up to Cincinnati today for Josh's dad's birthday. I'm really excited for that. So it'll be great to get out of the house and be more present. I was very stressed this week. It was just a very stressful week for me, and I was very tense and not having it. So I very frustratedly cleaned our upstairs, and I'm probably gonna finish that and then clean the downstairs because I am off work tomorrow for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I also want to go out to the barn, so there's just a lot of stuff happening there. And of course, my last little thing I want to mention before we jump in is don't forget to subscribe, follow, collect, all the things on whatever platform you're on. Also, if you want to follow on Instagram and TikTok, I am at the handle thatgirlthepod on everything, and I would love to have you join us, have a good time. We are a community of girlies, all working to become the best version of ourselves with no judgment. We just want to help each other out. So if you're interested in joining that, definitely recommend. It's a good time and I really enjoy it. So that being said, let's jump on into the episode. Similar to the last episode, I do have some resources that I will try and mention, like site where I found information from, but I will have everything linked down below. And as usual, I highly recommend you checking these articles out if you want to get a little bit more information or just kind of read for yourself, like more all the tea on these things. So yeah, so like I mentioned previously, everyone needs both masculine and feminine energy. They don't have to do with your gender, regardless of if you are male, female, or anything else. There is a masculine and feminine energy inside of everyone. It's called the divine feminine, the divine masculine, if you're spiritual, and we all have one that is typically more dominant. For me, honestly, I think that growing up I was more feminine, but I kind of forced myself to be more masculine in my energy because of some trauma and different things that happened, and I really just had to fight through a lot, and it made me a lot more masculine. And now I'm trying to get back to that feminine energy, and I think that it's at the point that it's like detrimental to me if I don't. So that is why I have been trying so hard to do this, and I think it's a good time to do this because, you know, I don't have like deadlines like I did in school or anything like that. I would just push it off and be like, I have this huge project, I can't do anything but this project, which is a very masculine energy thing to do. But now it's like, if not now, when, you know? So really excited to kind of get back to that. So the first resource that I'm going to mention is pausemeditation.com. Like I mentioned, it's linked down below, and I'm going to read the definition that they have because I think that it explains it really well on a basic level. I'll dive into both of them, but for a basic level understanding, I think this is a good one. So basically what it says is, masculine energy is characterized by doing and achieving and is molded by logic and reason. The feminine is more intuitive, oriented towards receiving and allowing, and characterized by being. So doing versus being, and then logic versus intuition is the big takeaways there, which is definitely true. If you want a really in-depth explanation, you can go on medium.com, another resource I listed, and it has a very good, very poetic explanation for the masculine versus the feminine. But basically, masculine is when you are constantly working, you're planning, you're achieving, you are managing people, you are always in the act of doing something, usually to achieve your goals. You are very leadership oriented, you are constantly looking for facts and reason, and it's very rational as to why you're doing things, and just comes from like a hustle culture mindset, which is why most people really struggle to step into their feminine energy in the modern world, because we are all praised for traits that are of the masculine energy, whereas things of the feminine energy are kind of critiqued more. So when it comes to the feminine energy, this is when you're creative, you have expression. This is all being very emotional, open with your feelings, non-logical things like leaning on your intuition and just the natural courses of life. You are a lot more cyclical. You look at things as a death and rebirth situation, like all things come to an end and then all things become new, things like that. You just flow with life rather than look at it as a very linear situation where you're born, one day you die, and then that's the end. You are way more in tune with yourself. You listen to your intuition more than logic. You are just really focused on beauty and things in life and being present rather than doing and pushing to get to the next thing constantly. So being in the feminine energy is just basically being in a constant flow state, and it's just this very beautiful feeling. I think that it's a feeling more than anything. When I've been in my feminine energy, I've just felt this deep peace, and it's just being at peace, literally. It's so calming to just be present in that moment and not worry about what's coming next or anything like that. So I think that is just like really a good way to explain the feminine energy. And like I mentioned, there are resources if you want to read it more. Also, Pinterest, weirdly, is really helpful about it. Like, they have some great stuff for really anything on the more spiritual side, but feminine, masculine specifically, if you just type in that, it will help you out. I actually have a little chart that I linked, and it's like, you'll see the link, it says like pin, but I'll read it off to you. So one thing that people talk about a lot is when you have an imbalanced energy, which is where you are either leaning into one energy too much or not leaning into it enough. Another word for it is wounded. So I'll read off to you what it sounds like when you are in a healthy energy and when you are in a wounded energy, because this chart on Pinterest breaks it down really well. Let's start with the healthy masculine. When you have a healthy masculine energy, you are present without being distracted. You are non-judgmental, committed and powerful, deep integrity and humbleness, focused and disciplined, supportive and encouraging, grounded and of service, honest, logical, and accountable. And then when you are in your wounded masculine, so you have too much masculine and you are leaning into it too much, you have a deep attachment to success, fear of failure, you need to be right, you can be aggressive, you're cold and distant, critical and judgmental, selfish, stuck in the mind, not in touch with emotions, and defending yourself and attacking. So that is what it basically manifests as if you are not balanced in your masculine energy. Now let's go on to the healthy feminine. So a healthy feminine is strong and has boundaries, is loving and supportive, vulnerable, compassionate and authentic, receptive and confident in your body, intuitive and creative, ask for what you need, enjoy the process of creation, able to relate to others by listening, sharing, and creating a community. And just like with the masculine, let's talk about the wounded feminine. When you are leaning too much into that feminine energy and you don't have enough masculine to balance you out, you are looking for external validation, you are insecure, manipulative, stuck in a victimhood mindset, excessively attached, desperate for love, sacrificing yourself, and oversharing your emotions with no boundaries. So I think that I've definitely been a victim of both of those. Not me talking about being a victim when it just said you have a victim mindset when you are wounded. No, that's not what I mean. I think that I've definitely fallen into both of those categories where I've been too masculine or too feminine. And so I empathize with that if you are either one. This episode is specifically focusing on how to be more in your feminine energy, since most people struggle with that. But if you want me to talk about how to be more masculine and stand up for yourself and different ways to manifest that energy, if you feel that you have a more dominant feminine energy and you want to reach out more into the masculine side, I definitely can do that. So just let me know. But continuing on, I do want to mention that Pause Meditation had a really good Venn diagram that broke this down. So definitely go on there if you are want to look at that and you're a visual person. I know I am, so it helped me. Also, when we are talking about Chinese medical theory, just to kind of bring in history a little bit, because I thought this was really cool more than anything else. When you are talking about the yin-yang symbol, greater yin relates to feminine and greater yang relates to masculine energy. So when you see that yin-yang that I'm sure everyone has seen, it kind of became trendy in the early 2000s. It's that's what they're referring to, is your masculine versus feminine energy. Dark and light is what I've also heard, but I think it's a beautiful thought. And that also came from goop.com, which is linked down below. So more traits of someone who is imbalanced for the feminine energy, where they have too much energy and they aren't balanced in both, is they are powerless, manipulative, needy, oversensitive, and codependent. And then traits of someone who has a lot of masculine energy and hasn't balanced that out with their feminine energy is aggression, confrontational, controlling, micromanaging, and competitive. So like I mentioned, in today's world, the masculine energy is much more praised than the feminine. And what I mean by that is people praise success. People praise your outward titles. People praise your ability to express logic and knowledge in that sense. They don't praise your intuition. A lot of times people actually shame you for leaning on your intuition or what your heart is telling you or anything like that. Also, we all know that artists and people who lean into their creativity are not as successful or compensated as much as someone who is, for example, a businessman or a scientist. And I'm not going to get into the politics of that necessarily because I don't think it's my place. I don't have the expertise to do that. But I do want to mention that it is a thing. People really look at logic over intuition and really just kind of shame you if you're give off too much feminine energy. Like, for example, being emotional is kind of frowned upon. Like, if you show too much emotions, it's really frowned upon in today's society because it's correlated really with not being strong, which I don't think is fair. I think that the more vulnerable you are and the ability to be emotional, of course within reason and understanding boundaries and things like that, I think that if you're able to share, then you're honestly much stronger than someone who isn't able to process or share their emotions for the good of others, you know? So it's always been interesting to me that people really just associate being emotional with not being strong, because we all have emotions. It's just some people hide it and some people have the strength to share it to help others. And so I think that I don't know, it's always been a crazy concept to me, but basically we're kind of raised and taught that regardless of who we are, what our background is, what our gender is, that we need to be more masculine if we want to be successful in the world. And while I kind of understand why, because, you know, money is associated with certain jobs and things like that, and all of those jobs look for people with traits of a masculine energy, I also think that without our feminine energy, we wouldn't be able to operate at that level, because you tend to be really burnt out, you tend to not be able to process your emotions, and you know, all of the negative effects that come with not having enough feminine energy in your life, those keep you from being successful. It's definitely enough that it can stop you from doing your best and reaching those goals. So really, I don't know why we don't talk about our feminine energy more and we don't lean into it more, because you can't be successful and work at your highest potential without that feminine energy. So I really like this sentence that another source wrote, and I really can't remember the name. I think it might have been goop.com, but honestly I don't remember which resource it is. I'm sorry. But they put it in scientific terms because, you know, kind of similar to our last episode, a lot of this is based on manifestation, or really sounds like it's coming from a spiritual side, but honestly it is rooted in science. But basically it's talking about meditation, which is more of a feminine thing, and honestly this is our first thing that really helps us step into our feminine energy, is taking time to meditate every day. But they talked about the neuroscience behind meditation, and what they said was, in neuroscience terms, meditation calms our nervous system, shifting the body out of fight or flight, which is also the state of doing, aka the masculine energy, and into rest and digest, which is in the state of being, which is feminine. So I really liked that. I think it was actually pause meditation that was the one that said that. And that is why meditation is so important, and that is why I listed it as the first way that you can step into our feminine energy. So shifting gears, let's talk about ways that you could do that and the steps that you can take to become a little bit more feminine, and how you can step into that energy. So meditate. Biggest one, I think that was like the game changer for me, is forcing myself to stop and be present. And even if I'm just taking time to breathe for 2 minutes, starting there and working my way up, obviously, but it really helped me. So the next thing you're gonna want to do is calm down through self-care. I think it's no secret that when people think of like beauty and they think of like taking care of yourself and good hygiene, they associate that with a more feminine energy. And it kind of makes sense because, like we mentioned, masculine is more in the action of like they're all about success and reaching that goal, whereas like feminine is slowing down, taking a second and valuing things like beauty and the environment you're in. So one way to get more in touch with your feminine energy is stopping and having self-care for the sake of having self-care. Taking a bubble bath, lighting candles, doing a face mask, things that may not correlate to like success at work, or you know, you're not making a PowerPoint that's gonna get you that promotion, but you're taking care of yourself. So that is another way to really get in touch with your feminine energy, just having a self-care night multiple times, not just doing it once and never again. Taking time to focus on yourself and do what makes you feel good. Next is lean into creativity and create something that brings you joy. Not because you have to do it for work or for a new idea or anything related to turning it into a project for something, but just doing it because it brings you joy. I've really started doing this by crocheting. Specifically in this past week, I've just been crocheting as much as I can. I crocheted bookmarks, I crocheted bandanas for my dog, I'm trying to learn how to do a bag, but I also want to crochet little fake succulent plants for my desk. So just trying to find things that are just like fun, that don't like, I'm not selling anything that I crochet. I'm not asking for anyone to like tell me I'm good at it or seeking validation. I'm simply doing it because I enjoy it. Another way, going back to meditation, that I've been just taking time to pause is I've been reading more, which I used to do a lot when I was younger, and then I kind of stopped because I felt like if I wasn't reading a self-help book or something that was gonna get me from point A to point B and be more successful, it was kind of a waste of time, which is obviously not the case whatsoever. So yeah, it was not the best time. But I'm really happy that I've been reading again, simply because it brings me joy, just like reading fictional things and really allowing myself to unwind in that way. Another way that you can step into a more feminine energy is going outside and being in nature. Nature is beauty related. It is very just calm and peaceful, and it definitely is a more feminine energy, so taking time to do that. The next bullet point is learn to go with the flow and force yourself to not know what is next. AKA, let go of control. Stop micromanaging. Stop forcing yourself to have a schedule 24/7. Stop planning ahead. Take a day to just see what happens. Wake up, just see what happens. Go with the day, see where it takes you, and stop saying everything. Me and this bunny are gonna throw hands. Braxton, for me, it's really hard to let go of control. I always want to know what's going on at all points in the day, and forcing myself to not know what's going on, maybe let Josh plan the day, or just kind of see what happens and be okay with not knowing where I'm going to end up for dinner, you know, that is something that is really feminine, and just being present. So allowing yourself to do that. Get emotional. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream and cry, scream and cry. Do what you need to do to get your emotions out. Stop holding them in. You don't need to do that. And it's really just more beneficial in the end. Next is tap into your intuition and see what you need. So listen to your intuition and let it tell you what you need more of. Do you need more sleep? Do you need more food in a nutrition sense? Do you need more exercise? Do you need to be going in a completely different direction with your career? Tap into your intuition and listen to what it says. And this is something that I've talked about before. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight. You will need to train your intuition again through meditation, things like that. But listening to your intuition is really powerful, and it puts you on the right path, which is kind of silly to like say, like it puts you on your life path, but it's true. Like when you're listening to your intuition, life just is going better. From what I've experienced, your life just makes more sense. So let others help you and delegate when needed. The thing about the feminine energy is you're in the state of receiving versus the masculine energy, which is the state of giving. So if you're constantly giving, you are going to run out of energy. If you need to allow people to give you things, not in like a selfish sense, but you just need to be open to receiving. So if you have a huge project and you're struggling with it, allow help, ask for help. Just delegate things if you have the ability to. Don't get so caught up in constantly giving, and save your energy for when you actually truly need to give, and not just do it with every little thing. This one kind of sounds silly, but dance. When you dance, you're letting these emotions out through a like physical sense, and it's really beneficial. Just it really is. Like, I can't even explain it more. Just the feeling you get when you dance and you're stressed out, you just feel so much better, because you do get stressed when you are imbalanced in your energy and you lean towards one or the other. It comes with a lot of stress. So when you are balanced, you actually are not very stressed compared to the rest, because you are allowing things to come to you while also taking control when needed. You learn when to let go versus when to take control. And so you're not as stressed because you understand the flow of things. And it's going to be a balancing act throughout your entire life. I don't think you'll ever be 100% balanced in your masculine and feminine energy, but you definitely get to a point where you're less stressed because you're just flowing and everything is just kind of falling into place. So the next thing is slow down. Basically like slow living, where you're just like taking things as they come. You're not concerned with what's happening tomorrow. You have goals, but you're not letting them control you and obsessing over them. You're just doing what you need to do, and things are coming as they come, and you're not worried about a timeline. Slowing down and allowing things to happen to you instead of forcing them to happen is a huge way to step into that feminine energy. Surround yourself with beauty, as well as activate your 5 senses. The feminine energy is extremely sensual, so you want to activate as many senses as possible, whether that's, you know, taste, touch, smell, hearing, all the things. So really just leaning into that, you know, going out in nature activates all 5 senses. Coming home and taking a bubble bath with candles and maybe some music if you want, you know, that is stepping into it. Maybe have a little Moscato, or if you want to have some tea, something to really calm you down. Like, there are different ways to do it based on who you are and what interests you, but just getting as many senses activated as possible. Another thing is not being afraid of your shadow self or the bad things that you've kind of been running from, like your demons, things you're hiding in your closet, whatever you want to call it. Kind of facing those head on and allowing yourself to get emotional, allowing yourself to deal with them, and not running from them, hiding them, stepping away from those emotions. When you face your shadows and you work with them and understand them, don't let them define you. Work with what you can, but also understand that having negative things or things you need to work through is just something you're going to have your entire life. Just being more aware of that is a very feminine thing to do. It makes you stronger and you learn some great life lessons. Next is rooting your self-worth in something other than your success or your productivity. Like I mentioned, we're taught that how successful you are, your ability to produce and contribute to society, and things like that are very masculine are what makes you valuable. If you can't do that, if you don't have a good net worth, then society looks at you like you don't have any value. And that's not true. You need to root your value in your self-worth, your personal self-worth, rather than your productivity, your success, how many degrees you have, how much money you have, how high your title is at work. Things that are very external, those don't matter at the end of the day. And rerouting that to say, I know who I am and I love myself, and that's what matters. I am extremely valuable because I said so. That is a very positive way to step into your feminine energy. And the very last thing I'm going to mention for how to step into that is letting things come to you. I've talked about this so many times on the podcast. I love how if you're watching this, you can see my Christmas decorations on my desk behind me because I took them off the window but haven't taken them downstairs yet. Sorry, a little distracted there. Just looked up and saw it. But I've talked about this so many times. Learning to flow and not force. I've tried to force so many things into existence in my life, and there's a difference between manifesting and letting it happen and forcing things to happen and being obsessed with it and not letting things flow. I feel like, and I've mentioned this before, when you are forcing things to happen, you're actually putting a block up and you're not allowing it to come to you because you're putting an energy of desperateness, is that a word, into the world rather than an energy of receiving. So that is what I mean by letting things come to you. Don't force them to come to you, just let them come, and whatever happens happens, and being okay with whatever because you are flowing and present and grateful for whatever happens and focused on beautiful little things in life like the beauty outdoors. And you know, last night I bought a candle to put in my room and I was so excited, and just little things like that that just mean so much but aren't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, you know? So that is all that I have for this week's episode. I really enjoyed talking to you guys and kind of telling you what I've been trying to do to step into a more feminine energy and what my struggles have been on the masculine energy side of things. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Comment if you can down below whether you operate typically on a more masculine or feminine energy, and let me know if you are working on balancing them out. Let me know if you want me to talk about how to step into your masculine energy, because I can definitely do that. Like I mentioned, I am no stranger to the masculine energy, so I got you if you need it. Other than that, don't forget to leave a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps out my I do that every time. Helps out my episodes? Nope, not that either. It helps out my podcast more than you know. If you just want to tap the stars, that would mean the world. If you want to take the extra couple of seconds to write out a review, I would absolutely love you forever. Don't forget to leave your Instagram and I will shout you out. Other than that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the good things with a podcast. That would mean the world to me as well. Don't forget to join me on Instagram and TikTok. I post quite a bit. If I don't post an actual post, I post a story on Instagram pretty much every day, and I post on TikTok quite a bit. So if you want to have a silly, goofy time and work towards your goals, please, please, please join us. I post new episodes on all the platforms, including YouTube, every Sunday and Wednesday. I love you guys so, so much. If you're watching this on Sunday, I hope you have a great night. If that car was making a lot of noise, rude. If you are watching this on a Sunday, like I mentioned, have a great night. If you're watching this on any other day, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night. I love you guys so, so, so much. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for all the growth. I really do. It means the absolute world. I cannot thank you enough for every ounce of support that you give. Small or large, I genuinely love you so much. But like I was saying, I will see you in my next episode. I love you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.